Hi everybody, this is the Baseball HUD, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion. Your host, HUD, and welcome back to another visit to the insane asylum known as WFAN.
They're coming to take me away, ha-ha, they're coming to take me away, ho-ho, hee-hee, ha-ha, to the funny fun.
And welcome back to the Baseball HUD 3, and hopefully you like this video and hit that subscribe button. So here at the Baseball HUD, and of course, we love talking about our favorite target. Our favorite topic. Man, I get those two things wrong. Topic and target wrong all the time. But the one, we know about the disruption, the rehiring of Craig Carton, the icon of WFAN. And, of course, he went back in the afternoons. I will say this, folks. The host has a great hold on that radio station. Today, on Friday, after 4 o'clock, I was able to watch the Carton show, and they led off with the whole thing with that man that beat up that woman in the Olympics. And the guy came out and said, yeah, I was born a guy. The first time they've talked about it. The first time that radio station has talked about that in 2 years. That is not a coincidence, because I've been hammering them on that for 2 years. And then they mealy-mouthed it away. They were too afraid to say what the obvious is. That is a man. That's a man. That's a dude. They didn't say why he beat the living daylights out of that girl. After 40-something seconds, Now, what's good is that Trump said we're not participating, and the IOC stripped him of all his medals. But he never should have gotten to that point anyway. But I thought that was interesting that they finally mentioned it on the air, as far as I know. Because they know I watch. So, kudos for them. It took them 2 years, the aforementioned Sports Authority on the radio. But one thing that we know is that the disruption of WFAN, obviously on even Evan and his husband, and of course his co-host, Tiki Barber, and their side spud, Sean Marash, there in the middays. And, of course, Tommy Lugauer, who might be, at this point, the same person at the radio station on the air in a prominent role, and he's there at night. But the one seat they have not filled yet is the overnight slot, the overnight spot. And, of course, that has had a motley crew of hosts, two in particular. Of course, we know Joe Beningo, the one host that your host can't stand him. Don't like him at all. And of course, the original Steve Summers, the guy looks like he walked off the set of The Walking Dead. Steve Summers. Ooh, Steve Summers. The original Captain Midnight. Captain Midnight he needs to get some rest, but boy, he looks like the Crypt Keeper with long hair. Well, they've not named a new overnight host on the fan. And I have an article here that you might like. It's from Bad Media. This is replaced off announcing, because they're the head of all the radio stuff. And a lot of other stuff, too. Chris Olivero still yet to name permanent overnight host on WFAN. Quote, the commitment to live and local overnights is there. We will see if and when, and it's a question of when. It's not a question of if. It's a question of when we feel we have found the right person to do that permanently. Now, the number one thing you need to be able to do on that overnight is talk to the people that call the radio station, because there is no content there at night. Because there's no sports going on, and if there is a serious situation, and if there's something going on, but very rarely does anything go on after 1 o'clock at night, or at the midnight hour. So they need somebody that's going to be on the radio station, not only being able to carry a show for 4 or 5 hours, 5 hours most of the time, but also have somebody that is not going to hang up on the callers and be nasty to the callers. The one thing I'll say about Joe Beningo in particular, he's not nasty to the callers. And that's the number one thing these guys have to have. They have to have a lot of patience and be able to sort of be congenial with the audience. Because if they're not, who the hell wants to listen to sports radio in the middle of the night? So that's the number one thing they need to be good at, is being able to talk to the audience in a way that wants, they want you to listen. So that's the one time they're desperate, and there's no ratings there at night. That's why the schmooze was there for 20 years, at least. WFN's latest programming reset may have begun with the highly publicized return of Craig Carter, but the station's transformation still remains unfinished, as one key position continues to draw unexpected attention. More than a month after Carton's return and to the station's weekday lineup, WFN has yet to name a permanent overnight host. While the gap might appear minor in a schedule dominated by marquee dayparts, station executives say the reaction has revealed just how deeply listeners care about every hour of the broadcast day. Chris Olivero, Chief Business Officer and New York Market President for Odyssey, acknowledged that the response caught him off guard. Speaking recently with Newsday, Olivero said listener curiosity about the overnight vacancy generated more discussion than some of the station's headline-grabbing moves. Well, they had the cycle killer there at night, McMonagle. So now he's on with the icon during the day. So, the fact that we did not announce a permanent overnight is, Olivero, read again. The fact that we did not announce a permanent overnight host got a lot of attention. To me, I was kind of like, oh, it was just a mention in passing in a press release. Maybe the last paragraph, no one's going to ask anything. Guess what? We got a ton of questions on it, said Olivero to Newsday, which I love because, again, it's a metric of passion. People care about all 24 hours in the day. Since the station elevated the Chris McMonagle from overnights to the afternoon drive alongside Carton, it has relied on fill-ins. Those fill-ins have covered the overnight day part. The group includes guys like Al Cintron, Gordon Damer, and Pete Hoffman. The shift follows Tommy Lugauer's after-hours show. That program wraps at midnight or 2 a.m., depending on whether WFN carries live night games. Olivero emphasized that despite the lack of a permanent name, the station remains committed to live and local programming throughout the night. The commitment to live and local overnights is there. We will see if and when, and it's a question of when. It's not a question of if. It's a question of when we feel or when we do, and if and that and did. Excuse me. All joking aside. Of when we feel we have found the right person to do that permanently, said Olivero. Well, like I said, the number one thing you need to have there is you need to be very patient with the callers. And I mean, most of these guys, they can talk to themselves like your host talks to themselves. I kind of need somebody to talk to. I really do. I'm so lonely here. I'm so lonely, But a lot of times, the host, and what's weird is you never see two guys there at night or two people there at night. Or any two furry little creatures there at night. It's always one person there. But you need a person that's going to have the ability to be able to carry the show on their own for 4 hours, and then at the same time they have to have patience dealing with some very irate fans that call and complain. And then a lot of times people call up and they just want to shoot the breeze because they got nothing else to do. Let me call the radio station and give them a trade proposal about the Mets or what the Rangers should do. My God, the Rangers! What the pain! But these are the kind of videos you get here at the Hut. You never know what the hell I'm going to say, what kind of tangents I'll go off in. That's why I love this channel so much. You never know what the hell I'm going to say. If you like that crazy stuff, you want to hit the subscribe button. You're probably thinking, what is going on here? What's with the sound? The audio sucks. The visuals suck. The guy talks like he's in the 3rd grade. I can't help the accent. I can do different voices, but that accent always comes through. It's the weirdest thing. But the really number one thing you need to have there at night is a person that's going to be very patient. Because there's some people that'll call, and they'll call every night. And you got to be able to, not only get them to call every night, you have somebody to talk to. You also need to be a little more entertaining to hold the audience, Overnight has quite the legacy because obviously, because the schmooze was there for 25 years, beginning in the 1920s, many years ago. But anyway, this is the kind of stuff, I can't even finish, this is more of a positive video with WFAN. I could sort of talk about the nervous hospital, but I kind of have a different attitude about the people there at night. That's a tough job. You're basically in the middle of the night talking about the offensive line for the New York Jets, or talking about the Devils or the Islanders or the scum-sucking Rangers. I am a Rangers fan, by the way. How could you trade Panarin for nobodies? I'll tell you, watching the Rangers the other night, even the broadcast, even the play-by-play man, there's no energy in the building, and no energy in the booth either. Where's Kenny Albert when you need him? Well, anyway, thank you for watching this video. Of course, this is another video on the insane asylum known as WFAN.
They're coming to take me away, ha ha. They're coming to take me away, ho ho, hee hee, ha ha, to the funny fun.